where you place your focus on this is going to determine a lot about what you do. If you're focused on, I miss days, I feel bad about that, then you're actually going to go into avoidance and procrastination, and that will create missing more days because your focus is missing days. If you switch your focus towards, I'm just going to pick up from where I left off and I'm going to keep going and I am going to continue, then you're going to re-engage. You're going to feel more motivated to continue because your focus is on continue.
Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday in the Wild on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me and pushing play on today's episode. If you are joining me on YouTube, you can see that we are in the car again. We haven't been in the car for quite a while, and so it's kind of fun to record in the car today. This week is Continue Week, and as I was thinking about this Wednesday in the Wild episode, something kept coming to me as something that needed to be said that I did not say in the Monday episode nor in the Friday episode. So when it comes to starting, of course, has its own weights, right? Like we have all of these fears. We want the perfect timing. We want all of the perfect conditions and all of that. But the big difference between starting and continuing is this. When you start something, it's a choice you make once. You do the one thing that finally starts the project, the first time you engage in the habit, the one thing that you do for the life change, the one thing that you do to step into the person that you want to become. It's once you've started, and that's super fun because then it's like, hooray, I did the thing. I overcame all of my obstacles and all of my fears, and I have started. Continuing, on the other hand, is not a one-time choice. It's a choice over and over and over again. Despite changing conditions, despite changing situations, despite new fears or old fears coming up again, despite not being in the mood or feeling unmotivated, continuing requires this choice over and over and over again. If it's a habit, it's as simple as engaging in that habit over and over and over again until it's on autopilot, until you don't have to think about it anymore and it's installed as a full habit and you get the benefit of that habit. If it's a project, it's returning back to that project over and over and over again. If it's a life change, it's doing all of the different things that are required for that life change, but choosing your new life over your old life over and over and over again. If it's a version of you who you want to be, it's choosing to be that version of you in a myriad of situations and circumstances when you feel like it and when you don't. That is the hard part about continuing. You have to keep choosing it over and over again. Even when the weather changes, even when your moods shift, even when you feel fear or doubt or wonder if it's working. And this is the hard part. This is the hard part. And then the part that actually stops us is when we take our stumblings, when we miss a day, or when we don't show up for it and we make that mean something about us. That's something that I really went deep into on my Tuesday email. If you're not on my email list, I encourage you to get on my email list. I have really designed out a week full of content, all based on our weekly theme. And if you're not on the email list, then you are missing the Tuesday email and the Saturday journal prompts and reflection that really round out the whole thing of content. And eventually I will do some live coaching on Thursday. I just haven't figured out where I'm going to be hosting that yet. So that will be coming. But the people who will find out about that live coaching first are going to be the people on my email list. Because honestly, that's the fastest way for me to communicate with people. Anyways, back to it. I went more deeply into why that interpretation can really trip you up and stop you if you aren't careful. But today, I really wanted to focus in on this idea of starting is the one choice, the one time, and continuing is choosing over and over and over again. Because when you can see it this way, it makes it more simple, to be honest. When you see continuing as just a daily choice or a continual choice, then you understand it a little, then you see it a little bit more simply. Just, I know I said that already, but you see it a little bit more clearly as for what it is. It's not more complicated than that. I promise you. Continuing is just choosing to do it again and again and again. When I was installing my early morning habit, it was a daily morning choice that when my alarm went off, I got up. I got my exercise clothes on, I went down, I got on my bike. It was just a choice that I kept making. And of course, when you're turning it into a habit, then at some point, usually around 66 days, you hit the point of automaticity where it just takes over for you and you don't have to consciously make the choice anymore. That's the huge benefit of habits, not making the conscious choice. But when you're working on a project or when you're making a life change, that's not necessarily about building a habit. It could be establishing a habit to work on your projects at a consistent time, on a consistent basis. It could be, but it will be things like choosing to work on your project rather than sleeping in, or choosing to work on your project rather than going to hang out with friends, or choosing to work on this project rather than starting a new project. It will just be making that choice over and over and over again. It is not more complicated than that, to be honest. And it feels complicated. So in my Tuesday email, I shared about a thing that I started, and I did great for a week, and then I quickly fell behind. I had one day that just like emotionally wrecked me. And then that day snowballed into missing 2 days, blah, blah, blah. And by the time I wrote that email, I was 11 days behind on this thing that I started. And it was a daily thing. It was kind of a challenge with a bunch of other people. And so there really is like a behind, like there was a daily thing that you did. So for this specific thing, there is a behind. Ordinarily, I would challenge that. If my client were to come to me as like, I'm so behind, I'll be like, what is behind? For this specific thing, there is a behind. And so I am behind. And I found myself this, and this part of the story I didn't share in my email because I wanted to focus on interpretations. But I found that after about 3 days of missing, I started to avoid this thing. I just started to avoid it entirely. Now, it wasn't because I didn't want to finish. It wasn't because I didn't want to catch up. It was because I was focused on the fact that I had missed days and I was behind. And because I felt bad about missing days and being behind, I wanted to avoid the whole thing entirely. Obviously, that's not helpful. And saying it out loud, I'm just like, man, that was so stupid and so lame, because catching up on 3 days is so much easier than now catching up on 11. I get that. I totally do. And this Wednesday in the Wild episode is all about me tackling this very same thing. So when I look at that and I'm like, okay, I'm now avoiding this and making this worse because I feel bad about it, the question that I ask myself is this: what am I focused on? Am I focused on being behind? Yes. Or can I focus on the end result? Because even though there is a behind on this challenge, I can still do this at my own pace. I'm not going to like There's no like door closing. I'm not going to miss out on anything. I can still just like catch up one day at a time and just not complete with my peers, which is fine. There's no like consequence to it other than I feel bad for not completing the thing with my peers. So, me being focused on the fact that I'm behind and that I missed days and whatever isn't helping me. When I switch my focus to, is this something I still want to complete? Is this a result that I still want to achieve? And I'm like, well, yeah, like, does it matter that I'm, 11 days behind? Not really. I mean, it's kind of a bummer that that's what I did, but starting from now, if I choose to re-engage, if I choose to pick right back up where I left off and move forward, wouldn't that be better than not continuing at all? And the answer is yes. And even if I like zoom even farther out, if I were to just pick up from where I left off right now, do it one day at a time right now, and 11 days after my peers, in a year from now, will that matter? Will it matter that I ended 11 days after my peers? Or will it matter that I completed it and I finished it? Obviously, the answer is that it will matter that I completed it and that I finished it. So, where you place your focus on this is going to determine a lot about what you do. If you're focused on, I missed days, I feel bad about that, then you're actually going to go into avoidance and procrastination, and that will create missing more days because your focus is missing days. If you switch your focus towards, I'm just going to pick up from where I left off and I'm going to keep going and I am going to continue, then you're going to re-engage. You're going to feel more motivated to continue because your focus is on continue. So where your focus is definitely makes a difference. Also, this is twofold because I just told you where your focus is as far as missing days versus continue will switch what you do or will impact what you do. But also, if I'm focused on how I feel in the moment, like, do I feel motivated? Do I want to do this? That will impact my behavior as well as turning my focus towards the end result that I am working towards achieving. If I'm focused on the end result and not on the current moment and how I currently feel and what I currently want, that will change behavior. So your focus will change what you do. And honestly, this is way bigger than just projects or habits or starting things and finishing things. This is so much bigger, this principle of focus. What you focus on truly expands. If you focus on the good in your life, you will see more good. If you focus on the bad in your life, you will see more bad. If you focus on things that are frustrating, if you focus on things that are delightful, whatever you focus on, you will see more of in your life and you will create more of it as well. So, in applying it to this week, focus on continuing. Even if you miss a day, even if you miss 11 days, focus on continuing. Focus on the end result, what it is you're actually trying to do, why you started in the first place. Focus on that, not necessarily how you feel in the day, not necessarily your current levels of motivation, definitely not on how many days you've missed or this, that, or whatever. Focus on continuing and focus on what it is you are working towards, no matter what. That's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I totally love you. Bye for now.